In the next hour, you will learn why you're still stuck, even though you're driven. You'll discover who is secretly holding you back and how to cut them loose without guilt. You'll learn how to choose the right people, how to build a mastermind that sharpens you, and how to find a partner who fuels your vision instead of softening your edge. This isn't motivation, this is liberation. Listen to every word. Do you feel as if you are doing everything right, but you still aren't rising? You've read the books, you've made the plans, you've got the dream in your heart, and still, you are not where you know you should be. Why? I will tell you plainly, it's not your mindset. It's not your effort. It's not your ambition. It's your environment. It's the people around you, the ones who smile at your goals, but secretly shrink at your growth, the ones who speak in soft tones but drip poison into your purpose, the ones you call friends who are unknowingly keeping you small. You see, the greatest threat to your success is not fear. It is familiarity. It's the comfort of the same conversations and the same jokes, the same pace, the same thinking, the same mediocrity, masked as loyalty. And if you do not break away from those who fear your elevation, you will never rise. You may still earn a living, but you will never build a legacy. You may still be liked, but you will never be legendary. I have seen this happen to men more brilliant than you, more ambitious than you, because they refused to leave the room where they were no longer growing. But you are here now, which means some part of you already knows. You are shrinking to fit inside a life that no longer fits. And I will tell you this, if you listen, truly listen, this will be the day you walk out of that room for good. This will be the moment the chains fall, not with sound, but with certainty. This speech will not simply motivate you, it will liberate you. You will leave with fire in your blood, clarity in your vision, and the courage to cut ties with anything or anyone who threatens your definite chief aim. Because this isn't about becoming rude, it's about becoming free. Say this now, not as hope, but as command. I am no longer available for smallness. If they do not grow with me, they cannot go with me. Now listen, every word, because your freedom is on the other side of this truth. Most men are not imprisoned by bars of iron, but by voices they've heard since childhood. They sit in mental cages built from second-hand beliefs, hand-me-down thoughts passed along like family heirlooms. Be realistic. Play it safe. Don't aim too high. These phrases sound harmless, even loving, but they are the cement of mediocrity. You hear them enough, you begin to repeat them. And once repeated, they begin to sound like wisdom. But let me tell you something vital. Environment is not passive, it is hypnotic. If you stay long enough in a place that worships comfort, you will begin to kneel to it yourself. This is the tragedy of the average man. He forgets that the world shaping his mind was not chosen, it was inherited. The neighborhood, the language, the mindset, all of it handed to him before he ever took his first breath. And unless he awakens, he dies inside the very room he was born in. Andrew Carnegie left Scotland with nothing but hope and hunger. He could have allowed poverty to become his identity, but instead he surrounded himself with men of vision, not men of pity. He understood this principle. Your origin is not your destiny unless you allow it to be. I have met men with gold in their mind who never rose because they listened too long to those who had no desire to climb. They allowed the whispers of their environment to become the commands of their life. You've changed, they were told. And instead of responding, yes, I have, and I'm proud of it, they shrank back into the cage. Let me give you this warning. The voices of comfort will whisper until you forget the sound of courage. And if you do not interrupt them, they will become your own. So here is your daily check. What am I absorbing? Who is speaking into my mind, not just in person, but through the books, the voices, the tone of the room? Because every man has a mastermind, whether intentional or accidental. And that mastermind is shaping his future. Write this down today. I am not who I was born to be. I am who I allow around me. Now ask, who am I allowing? Growth demands subtraction before it allows addition. Most men believe they must gather more strategies, more knowledge, more effort. But they forget the first law of elevation. You must lighten the load. And often the heaviest weight is not failure, not fear, but people. People who knew you before you dreamed. People who benefit from your delay. This truth is uncomfortable because it forces a choice. Do you value your future more than your familiar? Do you want freedom badly enough to walk away from those who expect your stagnation? Because you cannot hold hands with your past and still build your future. Disconnection is not cruelty, it is clarity. It is the realization that your energy is a limited resource and you must protect it like wealth. Every moment you spend explaining yourself to someone who has no intention of growing is a moment stolen from your mission. I have seen this destroy more destinies than failure ever has. The need to be understood by those who refuse to understand. The man who wants to evolve but still attends every gathering, answers every message, stays in every room, replies to every comment, all to prove he has not changed too much. Let me be clear, if you desire to change your life, you must change who has access to your energy. And that requires disconnection. Henry Ford understood this. He was mocked, ridiculed, even sued. His own peers called him a fool for refusing to build cars the traditional way. But Ford did not argue with them. He disconnected. He did not waste his mind trying to convert small thinkers. He built, and his building silenced the world. There is a difference between cutting people off in bitterness and cutting people loose in purpose. The former is emotional. The latter is strategic. Disconnection is not personal revenge. It is personal responsibility. Growth demands a new ecosystem. You cannot plant the seeds of greatness in soil that refuses to be watered. If the people around you do not challenge your excuses, question your stagnation, or hold you to a higher standard, they are not neutral. They are subtracting. You must recognize this. There is no neutral environment. Every room you enter, every circle you tolerate, every conversation you entertain, either sharpens you or softens you, either pulls you forward or holds you back, either echoes your vision or mutes it. There is a reason most men stay average. It is not lack of desire. It is not lack of talent. It is because they are unwilling to pay the price of disconnection. You cannot transform while protecting the comfort of others. You cannot grow while pretending you have not. You cannot expand while staying in rooms that reward your old self. And if you refuse to disconnect from environments that sabotage your becoming, do not be surprised when your future does not arrive. Some of you reading this know exactly who you must walk away from. You have delayed it, justified it, prayed they would change. But let me tell you this, if a man does not see your value now, your vision will only threaten him later. The price of your future is often the people who refuse to evolve. You must decide, do you want to be liked by everyone, or do you want to become the man you were called to be? Because the man who is liked by everyone usually stands for nothing. He conforms, he bends, he avoids conflict. But the man who rises, the man who leads, he is willing to lose applause to build his path. Let me say this plainly. Your vision is not a community project. It does not require a vote. It does not require permission. It requires protection. If you stay too long in places that no longer fit your future, your subconscious will begin to believe you never really intended to change. Disconnection is not about creating enemies. It is about choosing alignment. And if someone is not aligned with your mission, your growth, your identity, you must limit their access. Not from hatred, but from clarity. Every time you say yes to someone who drains you, you say no to the man you are becoming. This is the daily price of transformation. The willingness to prioritize your vision over validation. To walk alone for a season so you can walk in power for a lifetime. To disappoint others rather than betray yourself. There are conversations you must no longer have. There are threads you must stop replying to. There are group chats you must exit. There are tables you must stop sitting at. Let go of the group chat that chains you to yesterday. Your energy is sacred. Your time is gold. Your mind is the forge of your future. And every voice that speaks into you is a vote toward who you become. Choose wisely, because every man becomes the average of the 5 voices he hears most. Now ask yourself, who are my 5 voices? Do they build or do they distract? Do they stretch or do they sedate? Do they speak truth or convenience? You already know the answer. And if you know the answer, the time for delay is over. You do not have to announce your disconnection. You simply begin to respond differently. You begin to show up in silence. You begin to choose solitude over noise. You begin to act with discipline, not explanation. Let your silence speak of your evolution. Let your progress preach louder than your defense. And let this affirmation be your armor. I do not apologize for prioritizing my vision. Say it again, not with arrogance, but with resolve. Because a man who apologizes for his vision ends up building someone else. And you were not placed here to decorate the cage. You were placed here to break it and build what only you were called to build. Begin with disconnection. The right people will find you when the wrong ones no longer have your focus. And until then, walk alone if you must. Because the man who walks alone toward purpose walks with power. And that power is what sets you free. The chains that bind most men are not forged in hate, but in love. Not in conflict, but in comfort. Emotional loyalty is the quiet enemy of progress. It doesn't raise its voice. It doesn't strike with force. It simply whispers, "Don't leave them behind." And so, the man stays. He stays tied to friendships that belong to his former self. He stays loyal to family members who see him only as he was, not as he is becoming. He feels guilty for growing. He feels ashamed for wanting more. But let me say this with the authority of experience. They do not need to hate you to hold you back. They only need to keep you small. The childhood friend who jokes when you speak your dream, he may not mean harm, but his presence pulls you into the past. The parent who urges caution when you mention risk, they may love you, but their love is shaped by fear. And fear is not the compass of destiny. If you were born to build, to lead, to create something that never existed before, then understand. The higher you climb, the fewer people will understand the mountain you're scaling. And if you carry their doubts in your pack, you will never reach the summit. Consider this truth. If you had no emotional obligation, no fear of hurting feelings, no guilt, no duty to the past, who would you still allow in your inner circle? This is not a question of love. It is a question of access. You can love someone and still deny them the power to direct your thoughts. You can honor your roots without allowing them to wrap around your ankle. Let us remember Theodore Roosevelt. He was not born in hardship. He came from wealth, from class, from a world that taught boys to be polite, refined, and obedient to social norms. But Roosevelt did not bow to that script. He did not let the expectations of comfort dull his edge. He balked. He rode. He fought. He led with fire in his belly and clarity in his steps. Had he obeyed the emotional pressure of those around him to act like a gentleman, to remain in his lane, to maintain the status quo, he would have died as a footnote. Instead, he became a force. You must understand, emotional loyalty is not virtue when it leads to your stagnation. It is betrayal, a betrayal of the man you are becoming. And if you do not confront this now, it will haunt every step of your evolution. You will sabotage opportunity to stay relatable. You will downplay success to keep the peace. You will dim your light just enough to keep from making others squint. But I ask you, at what cost? Every man must decide whether he wants approval or legacy, whether he wants to fit in or break through, whether he wants to be liked or become worthy of admiration. And if you find yourself hesitating, let this question guide you back. If I had no emotional obligation, who would I still keep around? Answer it with brutal honesty. Then act accordingly. Because your future cannot be built with the bricks of guilt. It must be built with courage, clarity, and command. And when the guilt rises, as it will, speak this aloud. I choose my future over familiarity. Repeat it until the old ties loosen, until your mind breathes freely again, until the voice of your vision is louder than the whisper of your past. Let go. Not in anger, not in judgment, but in certainty. The next version of you deserves a circle that does not flinch when you rise, and if that means walking alone for a season, so be it. Because freedom is found not just in who you include, but in who you release. There exists a force, invisible yet unmistakably real, that separates the average man from the exceptional one. It is not luck. It is not schooling. It is not privilege. It is environment, specifically the mastermind environment. A mastermind is not merely a group. It is a magnetic field of purpose, formed when two or more minds commit themselves to the same higher aim. It is the sharpening ground for greatness. The lone man, however disciplined, will eventually tire. He may have ambition, but without reinforcement, without accountability, without friction, he will dull over time. But place that man in a mastermind, a circle that demands elevation, that breathes progress, that calls out stagnation, and he becomes unrecognizable within a year. This is not theory, this is law. I observed it personally in the life of Andrew Carnegie. Carnegie was not the product of elite education. He was not handed wealth or title. He was born in poverty, in a cramped cottage in Dunfermline, Scotland. But he made one decision that changed everything. He chose his circle deliberately. Carnegie aligned himself with giants. He gathered around him men like Charles M. Schwab, John D. Rockefeller, Thomas Edison, Harvey Firestone, men who had no tolerance for average, men whose presence alone forced expansion.